I've always loved this movie. Oh, hi guys, and welcome. Have you guys ever thought about what it would be like to be in a situation like we see in these horror movies? Well, tonight's three stories are about three people who live to tell the tale. So, without further ado, let the stories begin.
Number 3.
Holly Dunn and her boyfriend, Chris Mayer, were having a casual night when they both crossed paths with the wrong stranger. While on their way home from a friend's party, the couple was approached by a mysterious man at the train station asking for money. Little did they know, he was Angel Resendez, a famed serial killer who had already murdered 6 and would ultimately claim the lives of many more. After showing them an ice pick, Resendez tied the couple up and ushered them to the nearby ditch, when he then bludgeoned Mayer to death with a 50-pound rock. Not satisfied with one kill, Resendez proceeded to brutally rape Holly, stab her in the neck with the ice pick, and beat her savagely with the wood plank until she passed out. When Holly woke up, she discovered that Resendez was gone. He mistook Holly passing out for being dead somehow, which gave her the chance to escape. She was able to drag herself to a nearby house and call for help for her various injuries, including a broken jaw and a shattered eye socket. Nearly 10 years later, Holly testified in court against the railway killer. He used the train system to move between states to find new victims. In the trial that gave him the death sentence, she was the only one of his 15 victims to ever get away.
Number 2.
Meshalina Lewandowska did not have the most loving relationship with her fiancé, Marcin Kasparak, but she was probably anticipating a nasty public breakup or confession of cheating when their relationship finally ran its course. Instead, when Kasparak grew tired of her, he and a super compassionate buddy attacked her with a stun gun, bound her hands and legs, and tried to think of how they could get rid of her for good, the mother of his 3-year-old son, no less. His gruesome idea was to slump Meshalina into a cardboard box, drive her out to the woods, and bury her alive under a few inches of dirt and a 90-pound tree limb, so she could suffocate and ultimately die. According to an interview she gave after the ordeal, Meshalina woke up in her shallow grave with thoughts of her child in her head and decided that she needed to survive in order to protect him from the same man that had done this to her. Thinking quickly, she was able to cut through her bonds with her engagement ring and claw her way out of the grave, where she had been stranded for over 2 hours already. And though she escaped with her life, the psychological and physical effects haunted her for weeks. She suffered from insomnia and paranoia, and had difficulties breathing and walking. Both her attackers were sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Number 1.
Ram Hubin had suffered through the unthinkable already when he lived through a devastating car crash that paralyzed his body. But the real terror began when doctors made the grave mistake of believing Hubin was in a coma, when he was in fact completely conscious yet unable to move or speak for 23 long years. It wasn't until new technology was introduced several years ago that brain scans showed he was not in the persistent vegetative state they had so long thought he was suffering, but at an almost completely normal level of brain function. Hubin had been silently screaming for 23 years, but nobody knew how to listen. While the slow agony of being alert and treated like a vegetable would be enough to drive anyone mad, Hubin made it through decades by dreaming of life outside the confines of his sentencing in that hospital. While he only has limited control of his body, he is able to read books and communicate with the aid of a specialized computer. He calls his new chance at life a second birth, and is just happy that people finally understand that he is alive and aware of his surroundings.